So, one of the things that we typically do not take into account is how humans communicate. And so that's extremely important for us to talk about and to recognize the importance of human communication and how that happens. So too often we get caught up in people's words, and what we don't necessarily understand or remember about human communication is that the words, particularly given our context, whether we're a high context, we come from a high context culture or a low context culture, that's another training. But the words mean different things, and more importantly in human communications, the words are less important than the ideas that are transmitted through the use of words, right? Another way we transmit these ideas from one person to the next is through the artifacts and the icons that we surround ourselves with, right? And so with Fortune 500 companies, with successful retailers, they have marketing teams who have spent a great deal of time. They've also spent a great deal of resources coming up with logos and trademarks. Right? And we could talk about the whole idea of a logo or a logos, but that's another conversation. But they spend a great deal of their time, their energy coming up with these icons that represent their values, right? And so when one thinks of a Target, which is a retailer in my area, one of the things that comes up for me is the fact that the word Target in their logo is that of a target, and it's a red and white circle. And when you walk into their stores, although it is a discount retailer, it is very much about the experience of being hip and engaged in popular culture, and so they have all sorts of designers and whatnot that design their products, and so things are very modern and very cool, and so you get all of this vibe from this place called Target. Conversely, there is another discount retailer in my area known as Walmart, and one of the things that Walmart is best known for is its low prices. And so you may in fact see similar things at Walmart and at Target. However, Walmart does not mind having things stacked high. Their aesthetics are not as it doesn't seem like as much time or effort has gone into the aesthetics of their displays. However, the prices that they offer certainly encourage people to come in, although it may not necessarily be as fancy, if you will, as a Target. And then there's another retailer that I've also had experiences with, which is Amazon, right? So Amazon is an online store, and in this online store, you can see different products. Everything is, there's no fancy advertising. It's just like it's just exactly what it is, right? So it's an online retailer. Well, in each of those three cases, the retailer is trying to get you an experience, and the experience comes out of their values. And so you will see the falling prices of the smiley face at Walmart, but you won't see that at Target. At Target, you will see lots of bullseye emblems, but you won't see that at Walmart. And you'll be hard pressed to find a Kindle device in either one of those other retailers, right? Because they all want you to have a particular experience. I don't know if you've gone to the Apple store, and the brand Apple. Not only are you buying a really good product from them, and I'm not endorsing, I don't get paid to endorse them, but you're actually also buying an experience with Apple. Right? And so when people talk about the Apple computer products, there's a certain kind of glimmer in some folks' eyes, and then there's a certain amount of resentment in other folks' eyes because of whatever reason, right? But Apple's not only just selling you a product, but they're selling you an experience using their icon, using their marketing. Even the clothes that we wear, right? How we dress tells the world about our values. It communicates something to other people about us, something that we think is important to know. I remember a time in the 90s where young people would wear their clothes backwards as a statement to the world of their individuality. I remember in my own life there was a set of clothes called cross colors, and the idea of these cross colors would have different colored patches of clothing to indicate our individuality, which as an older man is kind of funny because we were all individuals wearing the same thing. Yeah, at any rate. So these icons transmit our values. The words that we use transfer our values, transfer our ideas, transfer our thoughts. And the more effectively we can transmit those thoughts, we are said to have good communication skills. Right? So the more that I can get the thoughts that are in my head out to you, I am said to be an effective communicator. So as we think about human behavior, one of the things that we know about human behavior is that it's all goal directed, that people are trying to achieve something with their behavior, with their goal. Sometimes we're not as cognizant or we're not as mindful about that behavior as we should be or as we could be given whatever our values are. And so one of the things that I would suggest is that we take a mantra from my middle school teaching. And one of the mantras that I came up with, and I'm not sure if I heard this or developed this on my own, and I'm sure other creative people have also come up with this, so it may not necessarily be original to me. But one of the things that I would say to my students is I would say, I hear what you say, but I see what you do. And oftentimes, you've also heard people say that what you do is so loud, I can't hear what you say. Right? And so when we think about how we dress, how we present ourselves, what we have on our Facebook, what we have, how we demonstrate our attitudes to folks, the clothes that we wear, the cars that we drive, we have to understand that all of those things are screaming to the world about who we are. And so if we say I am not this, that, and the other thing, then those things won't show up in our lives. And so, and if they are in our lives and we don't want them in our lives, then we have what we call cognitive dissonance, and we have to reconcile that difference between who I say I am and who the world sees me as, right? So that is something that we have to reconcile. So, so we have to be mindful of those things. And so I am very careful about what I wear because I want to make sure that the values that I have are demonstrated in my behavior and in my dress, right? I'm very careful about the places that I go because the places that I go are a demonstration of my values, of who I think that I am, right? And so those things become very, very important to recognize because the outside world may not have time to sit and talk to us about our values, but they're looking at us as a value because what we represent shows the world who and what we are. And so one of the things I think is very interesting is that I spent, so I like I like saving money. And so in my efforts to save money, I oftentimes find myself going to yard sales. And in going to these yard sales, you never know what you're going to get because people have things in their house that they're trying to get rid of. That's the whole premise of a yard sale. And so I'm in my neighborhood, and I live in Minnesota, and Minnesota is considered to be, a northern liberal state, and where the children are strong and happy, and the adults are intelligent and something like that, right? I mean, if you listen to NPR or Garrison Keillor, those are the images of Americana that Minnesota is supposed to be. And so I go to this yard sale, and I find something very interesting as I go to the yard sale. If you haven't recognized, I'm black. I'm African American, and in Minnesota, black black folks are certainly a minority in number in Minnesota, and so there's a certain kind of way that I think about the world given that context in every interaction that I have, right? So I have to be thoughtful of that in every interaction that I have, whether I want to be thoughtful or not, because people will remind me that things are as they are. At any rate, so I go to a yard sale, and I walk up to the yard sale, and the thing that intrigued me about this particular yard sale was that the family had taken a twin bed and made a bench out of this twin bed. So they had taken the headboard and the footboard and some 2x4s, and they made this bench, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So as I walk up to the yard sale, I'm greeted by a fatherly figure. I can only assume this is the man of the house, the husband, if you will. And so, we chit-chat about the design of this bench, and we walk over up the driveway, and it's pretty traditional in terms of how it's set up, right? So there's a driveway, there's an attached garage to the house, and you just kind of, there's a center aisle of stuff, and you walk on both aisles you walk around like in a giant U around all of their stuff. And so I'm walking down the path, and I see lots of knickknacks, and I'm really looking for a velvet Elvis. I think those things are cool. I don't know why, but I was looking for a velvet Elvis. And so I walk in, and as I enter the garage, the son, who is about my age, I would say around 40, is just standing there. He greets me, and so he's standing in the entrance of the garage, and he greets me, and I greet him, and we chit-chat a little bit, and the mom is taking the money at a little table, and she greets me. Very nice folks, very nice folks. And so we're just chit-chatting. I make the U of inside the garage. By the time I come out of the garage, the dad had called the son over to help him move something. So the father and the dad are now kind of out of the picture. And as I come out of the garage, I noticed that the son was standing in front of a set of stuff. And so I turn and I look at the stuff, and the son was standing in front of a collection of black-faced slave dolls. So there's probably about 100 of these dolls that are standing there, and I'm amazed. I'm amazed because I've seen them in magazines. I've seen these dolls in museums. I've seen these dolls in documentaries, but I have never seen them firsthand with the owner of these dolls in Minnesota, in my neighborhood, with my neighbor. And so I'm thrown back. I'm speechless. I have no idea what to do with this collection of black-faced slave dolls. Because to me, I'm looking at this, and there is no one that I know that A, is that black. That B, what this doll represents, is hurtful and demeaning to me. It's hurtful and demeaning to me. And it really surprised me. Hold on just for a second. So I'll just share with you, this is the doll that I was able to buy from this lady, right? And it came equipped with its own set of watermelon accessories. And if you notice, the watermelon has bites out of the watermelon. That's the accessories that came with this doll. And so I'm sitting here looking at this collection of dolls, and a rush of emotions come over me. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what to do with all of this. And so I'm standing there, and I pick up this doll, and I asked the woman, I said, well, ma'am, okay, so let me back up. One of the things that I know is I'm at this lady's house. So this is her home. So any commentary that I have about what she has at her house is going to be met with resistance, right? So am I going to make a change in this woman's life? Am I going to change how she thinks, how she interacts? My best assessment is no. Is there a possibility? I'm always open to the possibility, but at this point, what I realize about her, how she's grown up, where she's come from, is that I'm not going to preach to her, right? So I'm standing there, and I pick up this doll, and I ask her, I said, well, ma'am, did you make these? Did you buy these? How did you come to these? And I'm mostly asking because I'm just amazed at this collection. And she said, most of them came from my father. My father gave them to me. Some of them I bought, but the majority of the ones that I have, I've made. Okay. This is your Americana. And so I picked this one up, and she said, she asked me, she said, you don't think anybody would be offended by those, would you? So the fact that she had to ask me the question was interesting in and of itself, right? So she just asked me that question, and so now I have to be particular about how I address that question or how I touch on that, because I do not want to support the continued creation and implementation of these things. At the same time, I have to recognize that she's human. She's come from a context. She is trying to do the best she can with what she has, and what she has is limited and inappropriate for the time that we have now, right? So in our current context. And so I say to her, well, ma'am, I do know that I have had a client who brought one of these dolls to work, left it on a coworker's desk, and they got in trouble. And she looks at me and she says, oh no, these would be terrible at work. These are inappropriate at work. And I just kind of smile, and I don't have a real answer for her after she makes that statement. Because it's obvious that she understood that there's something about this particular doll that is causing her angst. And so as I thought about my interactions there, I now find it interesting that I didn't see these as I was entering the garage, because the son was standing in front of the collection. So that's two clues that this might be something to be concerned about, or to be thinking about. So we continue with the conversation, and I collect. I take this doll, and I take the watermelon accessories, and I tell her I'd like to purchase these, and she says to me, "Well, you can have that. You can take the doll, and you can have any other ones that you want." And I smile at her, and I said, "Ma'am, I will just take the one that I'm going to pay for, and I'll leave the rest to you." And then she said, "Well, I collect these because I think that they're cute. Don't you?" So at this point, I'm really confused as to what she wants me to say to validate her and her doll collection at her house. Because I can't give her anything that validates her collecting these dolls at her house. However, I do say to her, "Ma'am, beauty is certainly in the eye of the beholder. And what we have tells more about us than what we say." And so with that, we made that financial exchange. On my way home, I started thinking about this, and and there were some assumptions that I had made, A, about the world, and B, about the icon that this doll or these types of dolls represent. And what became very clear to me was that there were people who actually missed